So we're going to look at modelling assets and props from a single photograph. The holy grail of 3D design is achieving photorealism, and you could spend hours and hours and hours and days and months modelling each rivet and each screw and texturing everything and image painting and all the rest of it. But I don't know how to do that. So I started using photographs, and photographs, they're already photoreal. So, job done. Close down Blender, call it a day. It turns out that using photographs as a base point makes your life a hell of a lot easier. You can achieve much better results. Well, you can. I'm making a lot of assumptions about your ability here. I can achieve much better results using a photograph as a starting point. And it turns out you can work from one image. I'm going to work with sort of 3 or 4 in this example, but we're going to make a super simple vending machine. And then we might look to kind of add some more bits of our own, do a bit of kit bashing, a bit of texture work, see what we end up with. I'm not gonna do all the delete the default cube shenanigans. You're better than that. I'm not, but you are. So we'll leave that as is. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get this into a vending machine set proportions. So they are tall and, I would say, less deep than you think. How deep do you think a vending machine is? About that. Let's go with about that. So what we're going to do is apply the scaling before we go any further, because this catches me out every time. So Control-A, apply all transforms. So this will mean things further down the road are correctly in scale. Okay, so, it's kind of a vending machine already. So depending on your sort of determination, you could stop now. But we'll keep going. So, okay, you put in vending machine, just, as ever on a tutorial, I'm going to do all the stuff that I wouldn't ever do in real life, like, name stuff. So we'll also name the cube, so F2. Satisfyingly noisy mechanical keyboard so you can hear me typing, just in case I was faking that. So I'm going to bring in an image texture. Okay, so here's the image we're going to use. So if we then switch to viewport shading, yeah, no, it's not working yet. Okay, so we're going to select all faces and then we're going to do a UV unwrap to cube projection. Okay, so we're getting there. So if we go to UV editing mode, we select the first face. So we've got all the points, so we want to scale it up. Select the points using the G, position them. And accuracy here is important. Yeah, I'll switch that. So, front of the vending machine. I mean, if this was a PS1 game, this would be done. Okay, so what do we do now for the sides? We don't really have anything to go on. It's obviously a single view, but we could cheat. And we're going to cheat a lot. So I like the look of this section of the photo here. So it's got a line, it's got an interesting little divot. Now, if you look, my line here isn't straight, so to straighten that line out, we're just going to move that over there. So, it's not bad, it's not the worst thing in the world, is it? Okay, and then we're going to choose this face. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. Now, we could be symmetrical, we could continue having the, try and get it to roughly the same size. Oh, can't do that. But actually I'd quite like to... No, okay. Let's not. Let's keep it simple. Okay, so we might do a bit of jiggering. Words are hard sometimes. Let's scale this down. So we'll just take the same thing and we should get a line that runs all the way across the Okay, so now we're going to start tweaking our UVs a little bit to make these kind of float around. So that's not too bad. I think that's passable. It's this one that we're out on, so I'm just going to pick these up again and move them back. So we've got three sides of something that could be a vending machine. The back, what we're going to do for the back. At the moment we haven't got much to go on, and I think in the future part of this tutorial, we'll build a whole special back panel for it, but for now, so we've got a couple of options that could work. So it's all about finding spots on the image. So this is the obvious one. Or we could rotate it 390 degrees. Rotate it 390 degrees. But I think, honestly, that doesn't work. So obviously there's no right or wrong answers apart from that, which was the wrong answer. So we've got, I mean, super basic. I know, it's super basic. We get it, but we can work with this. There's a little bit of stretching on here. Let's just see if we can do anything to... So it is just tweaking UVs by eye. If things look a little bit squished, pop off. Because it's very rare that a photo is taken completely square on. Okay. This is a very, very low poly vending machine, and that might be exactly what you want. But now we can start doing the stuff that makes things more interesting. So let's start with a very simple cut. So if we put a loop cut here, and then we bevel it, extrude the normal in. Now you can see we've got some bevel problems, so we're going to deal with that in a second. So if it starts doing this, just bring your bevel down. Okay, so we've put a little edge in there. Now we can, I think I might, I'm going to turn, yeah, I'm going to turn bevel off for now just to make things easier to see. So if we then select these faces, I'm going to start hitting a very common block here. So we want to bring in a dark metal detail. Where have we got a dark metal detail? Here. So if I rotate that 390 degrees, and now we've got texture there. Let's do the same thing on these. Now there were no UVs for these because they didn't exist in that form, because we just did a cube project, and at that point there wasn't any recess there. So if we now do cube projection here, it will create two, you can't see there are two giant ones, but two giant UVs there. So we're just going to do the same thing, put it down onto the metal section. And you can see that's filled in this bit of the photo. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on these. So just select these two faces. Now, I've done that, but I think actually I want this to be that metal there. So I'll do the same thing on these. You're probably never going to see this, but it's good to spend the time getting it right. So I think we can get away with selecting all these faces at once. UV cube projection, and let's rotate it 90 degrees, step down, drag these into place. Okay, so we created it. So we're going to use this approach to do loads of different bits of geometry. So let's look at some obvious problems. Well, not problems, bits to work with. So we're going to cut this out. We want this here as a cutout. This. We want to do something here with the base. We've got these switches and dials to pull out. So there's a lot that we can do to give some geometry to this and make it actually a 3D model. So a loop cut here, and you might see that your UVs start to move about. We can tidy these up later on. So we're just going to cut up the front of this image. So just loop cuts, Control R. Okay, so that's this section and this section cut out. We won't worry about these at the moment. Let's do a section for here. We do a section for here. And then we slide this geometry up. Oh, can't do that because I haven't actually put these in either. So this was a man who didn't really know what he's doing. And then we slide that up. That was cheeky to slide that edge up, by the way. Okay, so now let's start with this one. So we select these faces. What I might do before we do this is put a little bevel on it. So select these vertices and then drag this. You're not going to get what you want to start with, just like life. We need to click on the bevel down there, change it to vertices, and then let's just put a second on it. Because this is flat, I'm not going to worry about all these crazy polygons it's making. We're not going to do a subdivide on this. We're going to use the bevel to get us out of trouble. So we've now got this space here, and then if we hit Alt-E to extrude along the normals and push it back a bit. So I think this is just a bit of a decorative slot. I don't think it does much. So you've got a decision to make here. Can you see here we've got this stretching of the pixels. Now honestly it doesn't look too bad, but it's best to fix it. So this is again because there is no UV data there. You've pushed a face back to a space that didn't exist before. So if you select these, you can see you've got a super thin. So I think if we, let's find out what happens if we select all of these and cube project. It might not work. So just holding down Shift and selecting all the faces inside. Here's my super precision blender skills. Never making a mistake. I think so. This is cube mapped everything onto one spot. Now we could have, I think that's going to give us everything we want. We could have done this differently, but and we will show a different approach. But so there you go. It's kind of filled it with something. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. So the wall that we're going to create here is actually going to be the back in the display in the vending machine. And the reason that we're going to do it like this is we'll put some glass in the front later on. You'll see we're going to encounter some problems. We're going to have to get creative along the way, but that's the interesting challenge here. So I'm going to push this back quite far because we need this space in here for our shelves. So that looks about right. So what we're going to do for now is we're going to stop thinking about what is in here. Stop thinking about it. Feel like you're thinking about it a little bit. We're going to stop now. No more thinking about it. So we'll just select this bit for now. Okay, so you know what to do now. So UV, cube projection. Okay, it's this, and we're going to keep reusing this expansive metal. You could use this line here again if you wanted a bit of visual interest. It might be a bad idea. So let's do that. Let's do that because it gives us some more stuff to work with. I didn't say this was going to be interesting, just said it was effective. It's definitely not fun. It is actually, you know, depending on your threshold for fun, it is pretty fun. Because you can actually very quickly start doing creative stuff. And once we've made a vending machine, we'll look at how we can quickly sort of workshop our other ideas. Okay, so again, it's already starting to feel like something. we just switch to the fancy render? I mean, EV, come on. No, this is not the worst 3D model I have built, even today, so, you know. Okay, so we've got another cutout here, so I'm just going to push this back. And what we can do now is we could just bring this face forward. And select these. Do a cube project. It's literally very much like me at a wedding. There's only 2 moves on this dance floor. Cube projection, scale down the UVs to the bit of the photo that you want to use. So we might want to push this edge back a bit more because it's not really. There we go. And the other thing we might do is we might just dial down the roughness. And let's not do that yet. So now we've just got a bit of highlight coming through, a bit of metallic action going on. Okay, so we're starting to tick off a lot of the easy stuff now. So we've pushed a lot of things out. Maybe we could pull something out too. Now, we don't need to do everything as part of the same geometry. We can just use the same material and apply the UVs elsewhere. So, if we wanted to create this little lock here, let's click here and create a plane. I don't know why transparency mode never seems to work for me at the moment, so we're going to have to wing it a little bit. So let's get it kind of roughly into the proportions of the lock. So again, because it's the photography, the photo, is doing a lot of the work here, we don't actually need that much geometry. Obviously, if this is a hero item, if this is going to be the main element of your scene, of your Pixar short, then you need more than I've got going on here. But if you're just going to sit from a distance, so you can really get away with being terrible at Blender. Why is this? Why is this nothing like the shape of the object you're trying to create? These are all questions you're asking, and you're right to do that. It would really help if I could see through. Anyway, so let's just scale this up a little bit. So at the moment this is flat to the mesh. We then extrude the face along the normal. And then we apply that material. If we now do a cube project on the front, you've got to do a bit of rotating to match, so it should be this way around. Okay, and then we'll just pick up these faces here. So I would rotate this thing 8 degrees, and we can use this edge here to kind of match the highlight. So there is a lot of just shifting UVs around, and you do need to make some creative decisions. So we've got a little bit of a wobble here. What's going on here? Something is not particularly well lined up. Face is close. So it's actually likely that that issue is on the front face. Yeah. So it's here, it's gone over the top of the line. So I'll just bring that back in. And it's going to be the same deal here. So just bring these back in. Again, not the greatest thing you've ever seen, but as soon as you're out here, you just can't tell. I imagine it's a lot of Blender purists very upset by this. And good. I aim to just upset all the Blender purists. Okay, so you get the idea. We should be doing all of these faces, but now the keen among you will have noticed that this actually extends out to the side. So let's continue this bit of geometry. So just keep doing the same thing. So actually, no, let's ignore that for now. We might need to reproject the whole thing, which would be a faff, but so that's where this face is. So we need to bring these faces. We're going to reproject this from. Glove again. Okay, so what goes on here? It then extrudes along the back of the. So some kind of lock. So I'm pretty sure you know the deal now. We've got loads of metals to choose from, but I think this is the sensible one. Just bring this face in a bit. So again, let's just take a moment to think about where this is going to be in a scene. Like, if you're up like this, this is not acceptable. This is bad modelling. But if you're going to view it from here, can you even tell what's going on apart from the fact that's a lock? And we will do some stuff to make it visually more interesting as well, and give it texture and depth. So you kind of got the idea with this, and I'd like to leave you to fill in the other parts yourself, but you can either extrude out from the geometry you've got or create new stuff. I'll do a couple more bits just to finish demonstrating it properly. Well, I mean, this isn't properly. So let's tackle this arch at the front, which actually I haven't thought about how I'm going to do yet. Okay, so let's put a line there and a line there, so they're kind of even. Now, no, let's not do it like that, because it will then stretch my UVs. Okay, we're going to have to eyeball it. So let's do that one there, one there. Another edge here. So we're just going to use the knife tool and cut roughly where we want it to be. And then select these faces. And I think we should do, because there's clearly like a ledge that goes all the way along here. So just use G to slide them rather than actually moving them. So yeah, G, double G to slide along edges rather than G to just move them, because you'll mess your UVs up as well. So we're going to do this. Now at the moment we don't have anything here to worry about. Could do a loop select, but I can't guarantee it won't mess everything up. Okay, and then if we extrude faces on normal, let's go with something like that. Okay, so now I just need to look for any weirdness. Don't mind that going to black, I think that's alright. We've got some odd structure here because there were no UVs, so we're going to select these faces. UV cube projection, UV editing. That's what we're going to do. We're going to use, maybe let's just treat ourselves in rotate and take this bit of metal just so there's a bit of variety. And we've got something weird going on here. I think it's just because this edge is half on and half off. So just bring that down here. Let's tuck this one onto some photo reference. Much cleaner, but actually this is a problem we've got on all of them, so okay, close enough, I think. You can see we've got these nice little like bits of detail, like rust and dirt. Okay, so again, we're in the right ballpark here. Let's make this a geometry. So again, we could either slice this up, but we could just literally just make new plane. Just want to give it the slightest bit of geometry. Apply our material to it. Cube projection. Back to, for this, we'll just project from view, so we'll literally just project from wherever the camera's looking and ignore the depth. Select these faces. Again. We're done. Didn't do it. What's happened? Okay. Now, these bits are spilling over, so let's just neaten this up. Don't really want those round corners in there. Now let's just scale it up so it covers the photo behind. So we've still got an issue here. Same. And because we've made our own bit of geometry now, it will be less difficult to slice this up. And just give that a tiny bit, whatever the hell's going on here. So, in one photo we've made a whole vending machine sticking out bits, sticking in bits. Okay, so let's wrap up this chapter with a bit of texture time. So, here's the shader graph. So at the moment we've literally just got a photo plugged in into the material. Now, the roughness slider here affects how metallic an object is. Create a lot of nice effects by just giving some imperfections to it and not just having a consistent shininess. So one easy little lazy trick is we create a color ramp and then let's just connect it to the base color so we can see it for now. So doing that, we've now got a black and white map. So let's assume that everything that's black is going to be less shiny. So that's already going to work for these things. Now, it's obviously going to pick up everything in the photo. We could get really precise and start editing stuff out, but let's not worry about it for now. That's going to be in shade anyway. We can see these edges, there'll be interesting stuff going on. So if we then match this into the roughness, even if we leave the base color disconnected, let's get the shader a second too. So you can see that we've got different amounts of reflection. Now maybe you don't want the black to be the reflective part. So let's invert it. So now the black is more matte and the white parts are shiny. So if you look on the side, it gives you like an imperfection. Now let's patch our base color back in again. It's very subtle. If you want to be more shiny, you can move more things over to that side. So you've got a very shiny vending machine, maybe too shiny, who knows. Okay, so we'll go with that for now. We didn't think about the base of this vending machine, but what kind of weird people are looking at the bases of vending machines, not people I want to hang out with. Okay, so we're going to do this, and we're also going to put a bump node in. So we just Control Shift click on that if you've got Node Wrangler on. If not, just connect it to your default base color. Turn that off again. So if we then put this node into here, into the height, and then into the normal map, things are going to go crazy and they'll look awful. But if we just dial this down to 0. Again, it's very subtle, but there's a little bit of metallic texture in there. Maybe it's still too strong. So it's not necessarily stuff you're really going to see until you've got the lighting working, but you can see what a difference just adding some subtle texture working. Okay, and now let's try mixing in another texture as well. So this might get a bit more advanced, but so let's add another image texture. And let's bring in, I've got some sort of scratched, like a scratched surface here. So if we apply this as the base color, maybe I'll change for different. I don't really like any of these textures. Good work, Tom, getting these downloaded in advance. Okay, this could be interesting. It's maybe a bit extreme, but let's go with it. I'll link to all of these. So, I've got a scratch texture which I'm going to use to add some interest to the shader. But it's not quite lined up where I want it to be. Now if we adjust the UVs now, we're going to ruin the overall UV map, which we don't want. If I click on here and add to UV map, we can create a second UV map. Okay, and then make sure this is, I think I need to set that as active, but make sure it's selected so you're working on the right one. And if you just select all faces and cube projection, and then go into our UV editor and make sure it's sat on spot. Okay, you can ignore what's going on behind here because this is all of the reflection maps and stuff, so I don't want to worry about that for now. Okay, so I'm going to turn that back off again. Now, for these two to work, they need their own UV maps. So let's just rename this as UV. So we'll create a UV, and that, I clearly didn't save that. And so that's now using its correct UV, and everything's as it should be. And then if I duplicate this, add that UV to vector and choose this one. That is also now doing everything as it should do. So, if we create a mix shader between the two, so we're going to use that as a mask. Let's just duplicate this. Up to the surface, and then so at the moment we have a slider that takes us between, this would work better if I hooked that up, takes us between the scratches and the photo, but actually we're going to use this in the factor rather than the base color. So at the moment we've got these the wrong way around, so we're going to invert these. Just take the base color down. So it's just an interesting way of adding a bit more variety into the, so we're not now replicating exactly the same stuff on both sides. So there's different scratches. It feels a bit more worn, kind of used. And you can obviously play around with the scaling of these and the positioning, and you could make, I don't know why you'd want to do this, but you could make the scratches pink. Could make them metallic, super reflective. Again, it's just created a bit of visual interest. You could keep layering these on top of each other. You could do all sorts of interesting stuff. Okay, last thing we're going to do to wrap this section up is we're going to do the backlight. So let's go back into layout mode for now. So if we hit P and selection, and then just ignore that. You didn't see that. So we're going to create a new material. And then we need to set, let's just do it from scratch because we don't need any of that texture. So we've got a standard base principle, and we're going to set the emission to maybe a slightly yellowy light, and we'll set the strength to 10, see what we get. And now the vending machine is kind of lighting itself up. And the final little bit for this, if we connect a glow node, you get a nice and pleasing glowing effect. So compositing, use nodes. This is the only thing I know how to do in compositing. No idea what anything else does. Add in the glare, image to there, image to there. Change it to fog glow. Go back to layout. Set up your camera. For it to be on top of. This is part 1 of a 52-part tutorial series. Number of parts still to be confirmed. But yeah, that's a full 3D glowing vending machine from a single photo. Not too shabby. I will see you in the next part.